In today's video, let me show you how I made this wall storage to keep all the sandpaper organized in my shop. Your sanding organization is only as good as your dust collection, and we've had plenty of issues with our dust collection on the track saw.
So I bought us a fancy new shop vac hose. This is like the most exciting thing I've bought in a long time.
With our new dust collection set and ready to go, we're gonna begin by cutting our board to size. The big draw to this shop vac hose for me is it came with 5 different attachments that go to a lot of different tools in my shop. I can hook it up to the track saw, the miter saw, my sanders, all of it. The hose itself is extremely flexible and easy to use. If you're looking for a new shop vac hose, make sure you take these features into consideration as well.
The best purchase. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, let me set this dust collector business up.
Coming up with the design for this project, I wanted to make sure that all my sandpaper was in the same spot all the time. This project's gonna make all of my future projects much easier. I'll be able to tell if I need to go to the store and buy more sandpaper. All of it is right there, easily seen, very visible. Sometimes your woodworking projects are very repetitive. Here you can see that I go from the computer to the saw to the finished cuts, from the computer to the saw to the finished cuts. But it's all part of the process. Measure twice, cut once. Once all of our pieces have been cut to our finished dimensions, we're gonna swap out the blade for a dado stack. Then we'll move on to cutting dados and rabbets. Before we begin all of our dado and rabbet cuts, we need to make sure the miter gauge is square to the blade.
Damp-a-roo.
You have to make sure that the miter gauge is square to the blade, otherwise you'll have some crooked cuts. One of my pet peeves is things that are not level or straight. If things being crooked or out of level bother you as much as they bother me, give this video a like so I know that I'm not alone. As long as I get all the dados and all the rabbets in the right spot, this whole project should go together like a big puzzle. But unlike a puzzle, there will be a little bit of fine tuning to get it to fit as perfect as possible. After finishing all the main dado and rabbet cuts, we're gonna swap the dado stack down to a 1/4 inch to cut all our shelves. These will hold our 5-inch sanding discs and our sandpaper sheets. After finishing all of our 1/4 inch dados, we're gonna add to the stack to make it a 1/2 inch dado and finish all the remaining dado cuts. Most of the 1/2 inch dados don't make it all the way through the piece. To avoid having dados where they're not needed, we stop the cut where it's needed and remove the workpiece before we finish the cut. We've made dados that stopped early, we've made dados that went all the way through. Now, we're gonna make a dado that starts late.
It's a little sketchy what we're gonna do, but we gotta do it. All right, so I have to drop this thing and then push it through to where I want it to go.
I could have used a router, but I already had the dado stack set, and this is gonna work just as well, as long as you're gentle with your piece. Cutting the sketchy dado worked great, but there just wasn't enough meat on the board to hold it together. Which resulted in this unfortunate break.
Well, that blows. I might be able to make it work. Hold on. That was literally the last cut. Ugh. We're gonna make it work. It's gonna work. Okay, we're on to assembly.
It's always a good idea to do a dry fit when doing any woodworking project. This will allow you to do any adjustments and fine tuning before you add your glue and nails and all the pieces are set in their final positions.
So we gotta route out these spaces here. We're gonna do this by hand too. It's gonna be fun.
These notches will hold the dowels that will hold my rolls of 6-inch sandpaper. With the dry fit complete, we move on to glue and nails for the final assembly. Being that this project is just for storage, I'm not gonna put any finish on it. If you want to build this project for your own shop, you can add a finish, you can sand it, you can make it as clean and nice as you wanted. The more time that you spend adjusting and fine tuning things, the better your piece will look. That just comes down to your personal preference if you want a finished piece or just a thing to hold your sandpaper. All these dados and rabbets make it go together like a giant puzzle with a little bit of fine tuning. Here's a perfect example of a little bit of that fine tuning.
It's not a pry bar, but it is.
With the final assembly complete, now we're gonna make our French cleats. You can make a French cleat with a lot of different tools, but the track saw is my choice. It's quick, it's easy, and it's very efficient. Moving on, we're gonna go to the chop saw to cut our French cleats to length. After taking a few measurements, transfer those numbers to your wall, make sure it's not crooked, and hang your piece. With the piece mounted to the wall, we're gonna cut our dowels. These dowels will be used to hold the belts for the belt sander and to hold the rolls of sandpaper that will be hanging from the bottom. Here I'm using a 1/2-inch Forstner bit that'll hold our dowels. These dowels will hold our belts for the belt sander. Adding a little glue and a tap from the hammer ensures a nice tight fit for these dowels. Using the track saw once again to cut out our dividers for our sandpaper sheets. Keeping the edges all flush, I'm able to cut all 3 pieces at the same time. It saves a little bit of time and it makes sure that they're all the same dimensions. Did I mention how much I love this track saw? Moving on, I'm gonna jump over to my chop saw to cut our shelf pieces for our sandpaper discs. I'm not gonna glue these dividers in case I need to make a wider space at a later time. My shop organization is on its way. So how do you plan to take your shop organization to the next level? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.